The last thing I was gonna do was write a script, print it, put a stamp on it, throw it on my wall, crack a beer, and pat myself in the back. No, that ain't happening. That's like 1/10 of the bigger picture. That was it.
Do you remember the first acting class you ever took?
Yeah. Yeah. My entrance into the business was a scam. My day one, first foot into the acting business, I hooked up with a scam agency in North New Jersey. You had to pay money up front. You get 3 acting classes and headshots. So I think at the time, in 1999, it was like $1,000. And you get 3 acting classes where you sit in a big circle and everyone says their monologue and stuff. We didn't even know what monologues were. We just had to read off this piece of paper. And then some guy in the back was a photographer. You go to the back room and he takes pictures of you. They were the worst pictures I've ever seen in my entire life. And then you get them and they say, thank you, good luck. And then never heard from them again. It was actually like a talent agency. They boasted themselves out. So yeah, I think a year later they got caught. They went out of business, and that was my first step into the business as an actor.
And so did you kind of like have to audition for them and then they go,
No.
You know what, we think you have a good, oh, they didn't pull that whole thing? Okay.
No, they'll tell you that. Just like everyone will tell you what they think you need to hear to do something, you know, but no, they'll take everybody no matter what. Money's money. And it's funny because that was one of many hard lessons learned along this long journey that we're all on. And I'm kind of glad it happened. My first step into the business, I got scammed. I was like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. Here we go.
And so you had not come to Los Angeles at that point. You were still in New Jersey?
Yeah. I stayed in Jersey until I was 30, working my dad's construction company. And I was auditioning, I was acting and working as best I could. And at the time, the tax credit dried up in New Jersey. New York was going too. Work was scarce, and it just came to the point where I had one foot in. I was booking work, but it just wasn't enough to go, and I was always held back because of personal loyalty to my family, my dad, and the construction business. And it came to the point where my brother, who also worked for the business, and my dad were like, you gotta make a choice because you're on this show, you're on this show, you're on this show, but you're not going full with it. So, now's the time. And then I was like, wow. I said, you firing me, Dad? And he was like, no, but now's the time. I said, all right. So I think within 3 weeks, man, I sold everything off and I was in my Dodge driving cross country and that was it.
Oh, you drove out here? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I came out of here like a ball of fire. Because I left a family business. I wasn't just floating. I wasn't floating around, So for me, I was coming to Los Angeles like, do or die, man. That's it. And I'm not going to take any prisoners on the way out, and that's it. And that's even the name of my production company now. It just kind of sings to me. It makes sense. So it's like a reminder, like where my head needs to be, as an actor and now making films too.
And once you drove into the LA area, where did you stay?
Buddy's couch for about 2 weeks until this apartment complex that another friend was in said there was an opening coming. So I crashed on his couch. This is so funny, man. I crashed on his couch and finally, after 2 weeks, when the apartment complex was, the room was ready, I drove my truck there, I double parked, I had everything in the back of my pickup, all my tools, everything. I ran up the stairs, up and down the stairs to the 3rd floor, brought everything up. I went inside, paid the deposit. I'm like, here we go, got my apartment. And the parking garage was under the complex. I was right in Hollywood, off of Hollywood Boulevard on Sycamore. And I went to go down in the complex and my truck wouldn't fit. There's nowhere to park in Hollywood. You have to have a parking pass. So first, essentially, day at my apartment, my first step into Hollywood, and I bought that truck. That was hard-earned money buying that truck, and I had to sell it on the spot. One of those bums from the, cash for your car businesses came the next day. Oh, man, that was a tough one. Watched him take it off in a flatbed, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Did they actually change the title? Some of those people don't. I found out the hard way.
Think, right?
Speaking of scams,
yeah.
So was you said you learned that sort of the lesson when you were at the New Jersey acting class, that there would be a long sort of succession of other things you kind of learned the hard way?
Yeah, I kind of need to get hit in the face a few times before it sinks in anyway, So it's kind of par for the course for my my life, how I go about things. So it's funny how your mentality changes as time goes on. I never really get hung up on the problems anymore or the issues. I'm not gonna say I don't get mad, but I think it's good to get a little angsty about stuff every now and then because it keeps you sharp and keeps you motivated. I know plenty of people in this business, they take the hits and then succumb to it. And I'm just not that kind of guy. So if anything, it, kind of drives it home, makes me go a little harder. So all these little hits I take along the way, yeah, I'll take them. You know what I mean? I'll take them and I'll just give it right back. And that was my first taste coming to Hollywood.
Wow. And so did you have a car for a while or no? You had to
After
go
that, I
carless?
had to get a car. So I took that cash and bought some cheapo and got around with that, Yeah.
After you experienced the sort of scammy, acting course, what then further got you into the business?
Through a mutual friend, I met a coach in New York. I started training in New York, and that's when things kind of started going. So I just progressed. I think I began the Meisner technique and worked forward from there. Got into a scene study class, and I think I trained for about 2 years. And that's where I continued my studies in New York.
But you were going to community college, is that right? For
I
a while
was
in
at the
New
same
Jersey?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was in the military. I got the GI Bill. So I went to the National Guard because I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I figured I'd come home, try everything under the sun because I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. I was just kind of lost and crazy. And I took an acting class outside of college. And that's where everything kind of came together. It was this class. So I already went through the scam one. I was like, whatever, I don't even know if this is real, if it's right, should I be doing this? And then my friends like, come to this workshop in New York. So I went and I was like, oh man, this is it. This is it. My mind was made up. So I actually went back to college the next day and I was sitting through one class and I just excused myself, went to the bathroom and I just left. I never went back. That was it. Then I started going full time in New York.
And how was your dad's take on that? I know you respect him a lot.
Yeah.
You have a good relationship with him. Right?
Great relationship. He's my buddy. My father was a prodigy bassist when he was in his youth. He was just magnificent on the bass. He was a musician, and he came up in that world. And it reached a point in his career, climbing up, where they started making money and they were doing originals and whatnot. And then it stopped. And it broke his heart. And I remember growing up all these years in the basement. It was my dad's bass, and I used to go, when he wasn't looking, I'd open the bass up, and look at it. But he never played it. He never played the bass, and I never understood why. Until later years, I realized that he was just brokenhearted. He didn't make it to where he wanted to be. Married my mom, was responsible, had the kids, closed it up, and he's like, if I can't perform at a level that I want to be at, I won't perform at all. I respect that, I do, looking back at it. And I think part of that was my motivation to keep going to a certain extent because I didn't want to live that. He'll still talk about playing the bass now and start glowing. He's 70-something years old. I didn't want to talk about an acting career when I was being an actor and glow about something 50 years prior. I wanted to keep going with it. So I just kind of took that extra step. But if it wasn't for him in my life, instilling in me the principles and the discipline, going after what I want, like with a head full of steam and everything, I would not have been able to do that. So it's not like I surpassed my dad in the entertainment industry. It's not that. But in a weird way, it's like he gave me the tools that I needed to keep going, if that makes sense.
It does. And so would you call yourself a dreamer at that time when you were trying all these different things?
Yeah. Yeah, and I also associate the word maniac with that. I was a maniac, maniacal dreamer, wild card. I was completely dissatisfied. I couldn't figure what it was in life that I needed. I come from a blue-collar town, There's work vans and American flags in everyone's driveway. That's where I come from. So to say you're an actor doesn't really equate. If anything, you get these looks rather than like, oh, that's great. Like that's not where I come from, So it was a bit of a thing making the jump to Los Angeles, where it was the first time when I was 30 years old, I was acting for 10 years now, that I actually felt like I was in a place that accepted me, even though it was an oddly cold place at the same time, living in LA. And only people that live in LA understand what that means, So yeah, it was an interesting road, yeah.
Wow, okay. Would you say you're still a dreamer?
Ooh. Yeah, but I don't follow my dreams anymore. My dreams empower me and impassion me, but I don't follow them. Because I followed them long enough, I didn't get anywhere. There's no goal to a dream. There's no tangible plan, plotting the things I've learned from failing, from following my dreams and not thinking about, okay, well, follow my dreams. That's like telling someone to focus. Like how? Is there some kind of system, concentrate? How? What do you do to concentrate? Follow your dreams. Okay, I'll follow them, but then what? So you just it was just too much of a floating type of thing for me until I actually put tangible, hard goals in front of me. And now my dreams impassion me. They give me the fuel I need, but my path is not set by my dreams. It's just really what I want out of this business and for me creatively. So fulfillment is what I seek. At least I'll never be fulfilled. I came to terms with that a while ago, but I seek ravagely moments of fulfillment. And yeah, I think my dreams just help me kind of remember that,
So writing films, like especially during the pandemic, I think you wrote several screenplays, making these films, that's not being a dreamer. You have an actual plan. That's a business.
Planned.
Okay.
That was planned. It's funny. I don't talk about creative too much. I feel like when I listen to somebody talk about creative things excessively, that it gives off some kind of dreamer vibe. And then it's personal too, for me, it's always a personal process. Be an actor all these years, even writing is personal. Dipping into directing, I never thought it would be like that. Producing is more of, a hustle. But when I wrote those scripts over COVID, they were designed before I put pen to paper in my head and then on paper. And I'm like, I'm not going to waste this time. And this is no offense to anybody, or it's just the way I work. So if someone's watching this, no offense to anyone, honest. But it worked for me. So if you get anything out of this, good luck, I wasn't going to waste my time writing a page if it wasn't going to benefit my career and I could not receive fulfillment out of it and I couldn't get money from that. I'm in my 40s now. I got a kid. It's a different ballgame now. I already did the thing where it's like, I'm going to write a screenplay and feel good about myself and I'm done and yada yada. Like, I never really was like that. But I rarely celebrate anything for those reasons because it's not the end. A screenplay for me is like the very beginning. And if I was going to put any effort into that en route to making a movie, to be successful, and whatever people think that word means, I was going to make sure by hook or by crook that this movie was getting made. And I was like, okay, how am I going to get this movie made? And I put the dots together. I figured that out. I called him. I talked to her, this and this and that. I was like, okay, I think I got a shot here. I want to do it. And then I started writing. And that was it. The last thing I was going to do was write a script, print it, put a stamp on it, throw it on my wall, crack a beer, and pat myself in the back. No, that ain't happening. That's like 1/10 of the bigger picture. That was it.